but it got him like 500 more followers with all kinds of like people that use the same picture on TikTok. Yeah. And I was just like, yes, please don't get yourself do that. I'm confident they'll bring it to that.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Beatty, here. Bell,
Here.
Hewitt,
Here.
Hoover, Larner,
Here.
Powell,
Here.
Wenzel.
Here. Approval for tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion's been made to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Any public statements regarding current agenda items tonight limited to 3 minutes? Questions for the board will be recorded and may be answered in the following meeting. Ensuring that council members have time to confirm the accuracy of the answer. This shall not be interpreted as a means to initiate dialogue or debate. No one? Bueller? Okay, on the consent agenda.
Before we do that, can I ask a couple questions? On the itemized list, looks like there was a purchase of a new Glock 17 at Duty Belt and rounds, correct? Is that what that is?
Look at notes. I'm not familiar with that particular purchase.
Okay. It's just a little over 682. I was just curious. The 6 that they used to carry have lifetime warranty, so I'm just curious where they are or what needed to be replaced.
I can get answers.
Thank you. My second question, down a little bit further, a payment to OHM to Eden Way for drainage of $8,400.
Yeah, there's a number of projects. I want to say there are about 8 special projects, give or take, down there, including Eden Way drainage. But there's also the bill for the Broad Street building evaluation that's mentioned, the administrative consent order support from the sewage treatment plant, and I think a few other projects that didn't have described.
So it's lumped into that $8,400?
Yes, it's several special projects on the bill. I can get a breakdown of that bill.
What part was the drainage part of their right of way?
Yeah, and they get,
it's not the entire $8,400,
No.
but I'm just curious why we're paying Eden Way to help with their
that
drainage.
is a good question. It's one that I will be following up on. I understand there are some issues, stormwater there, and that is of interest to our sewer system, infiltration issues. I am looking into that myself as to what of that is public interest and what of that is the private road cost. So I don't have that answer.
Would that be something that if it was more for Eden Way that they would reimburse the village for?
I don't know if there have been conversations or arrangements. It's an issue that I do have actually things on that list tomorrow to ask some questions about, because a lot was out last week when I first saw that bill and was going to ask about it.
Yeah, because that's supposed to be a private road.
Yeah.
That's
It's
supposed to be a
private
private road.
road. Yeah, no, that was immediately my question. So I'll have more next time.
So we can have a motion.
Yes, we're good.
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Or
Motion is made to approve the consent agenda. Supported. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes? No unfinished business, new business. A, items for introduction, discussion, marijuana regulation update plan draft.
Thank you, sir. This document that was in your packet, I shared by email previously, I think a week ago. We also discussed a little bit in planning commission meeting last Tuesday night. This is obviously an issue of priority. A lot of conversations that I've had with the council members, different interest groups, you could say, within the community that are watching this concern. And I wanted to put together the bones of what I think are the things we want to focus on in the coming months and years to try to help balance our interest in supporting the industry and the positive things that it brings, and trying to find some ways to improve some of the sources of pipe naming and odor. So I'm not going to read this to you. I might walk through the highlights, and maybe even if you want to share anything from the planning commission discussion last week, but mostly just to get your feedback, answer questions, your thoughts from the council on if this is going in the right direction, and if there's anything missing from this. The first element of focus is citizen engagement. And this came up actually in the planning commission discussion last week, even before we got to this document. There's opportunity to do some more public communication. Conversations I've had with folks, a number of things that have come up that I think were maybe missed opportunities and lack of understanding about what the industry and the facilities are and what they aren't, what they have done, what they haven't done, what the financial impacts have been or not been. I've been surprised actually by the number of folks that maybe don't have an understanding of the positive revenue effects, tax effects, services that we've seen from those facilities. And so it seems like we could do a better job of sharing that, talking about the historical piece and doing more public information, more and more information available on the website, a series of ongoing posts on social media to kind of bring back to a reminder of those things to understand that. So there's that piece of it. And then the survey, I talked to a number of you about it. I know it seems while we had the ballot questions, it doesn't seem that you have maybe all the information empirically that you'd like to have to understand where your residents stand on this. I think we all have our folks that we talk to in anecdotal conversations, and you kind of get the sense that there's a majority, or even a strong majority of support. But on the granular details of the issues like odor and outdoor grow, or how many and what types of facilities, I think you're going to want to have good feedback, direct, measurable data from residents on how they see the issues. So I think there's good opportunity to use a good third party, get you good information, scientifically valid questions and sampling that allow you to make some of these regulatory decisions for the future to right size them to the community values. Those are two major pieces. The other major piece under policy revisions is an update to the licensing process and ordinance, really around renewal licensing. And that is addressing odor in the ordinance. It's not in the licensing ordinance, and having an odor mitigation plan is not there. So there's an opportunity to put into place a requirement to have an odor mitigation plan, for us to review that and be in agreement with it, so that there's progress being made, and then to monitor that. And so that's a lot of what that licensing renewal talks about, and just adding a little bit of rigor to that process, where we maintain our role in regulatory oversight to help make sure that progress is being made at a reasonable pace. So That's the highlights. We do have to do a master plan update anyway. I know there's been discussion about designating specific areas for outdoor grow and those types of conversations. There's an opportunity for that and update the zoning ordinance, including what we talked about recently with special use permits and making sure that those come to you for approval when appropriate. Yeah, happy to answer questions, to hear thoughts, feedback, criticisms, witticisms.
Kind of as an addendum, I still think it would be nice, like Chief Short once a month gives us some statistics and kind of a small blurb of events. It might be nice to have the ordinance officer, kind of same idea, X amount of complaints and things that maybe have been done to mitigate, and just kind of a short version or a brief version of the month's activities.
Okay, yeah, we, village president and I have been talking about that, of bringing that kind of information like on a 2 to 3 month, rotation. Tom is, working on putting one of those together so that you'll have something like that soon, and we can make that a part of the plan for sure. Good, good. Other thoughts, questions, concerns, feedback?
Maybe under licensing, some other things that have come up in public comment is light pollution.
Okay.
And I don't know where it fits, maybe under public communication, but I've asked for in the past and still, and I realize this was prior to your being seated, James, but just some clear-cut policy and procedure for citizens to report issues that they have, such as odor. There seems to be a real drop in communication as far as, is it just a phone call, is it being recorded, is it not being recorded, what's the process, how is that reported to council?
Okay. I will share a little bit of discussion from planning commission. They looked at some example ordinances on caregiver regulations from other communities, and the township recently was looking at that. It is on here. I do want to note what I told the planning commission as well is, as near as I can see it, this sort of work we have in front of us, there's enough heavy lifting with the facilities themselves and getting that sort of updated in better order before we look at individual grow caregiver type things. They're on our radar. We know that they are the source of some of the complaints. A lot of question about our authority to regulate that at all, and so that's another reason I would say to leave that for later, while we focus on the facilities themselves and get those tightened up.
Probably some discussion and work maybe with ordinances as far as whether or not we want to start putting caps on things as far as licensing.
Yeah, that would be a part of it, and even like on light pollution and the other things you mentioned, that's one of those things where I think the survey that helps is to understand is odor, where does odor fit into people's complaint department, and is light even a source of complaint for most people or a concern. The survey data might help you understand that a little better. And then things like limiting or how many or nothing new or those types of questions.
Is the survey something that is going to be a one-time thing? Is it something that we should do once a year to see where people stand on it, and if things are improving, slapping, something may have fallen between the cracks? Maybe for just a few years to see if we're on the right track. Satisfying. where
Yeah, it's a good
everybody's at?
question. So a good citizen survey, what we're looking at here is probably like a 4-page survey. And we won't miss the opportunity to ask sort of standard master planning questions, including about the street knowledge and things like, for the master plan preparation, which you have to do anyway, broadband, those types of standard questions you want to temperature on. But a lot of it's going to be devoted to marijuana. Generally, citizen survey I would recommend you do every 3 years. Under more pressing circumstances, I might suggest 2 years. This might be one. It's to do it right and to do it well. It's not necessarily super cheap to do. And in 1 year, I don't know if you're taking feedback in order to right size regulation that will take time to implement and see the effects of. I would say 2 years might be the earliest you want to consider.
I'd just like to get some feedback as we're going through the processes and changing things and attacking things that have been problems that, we're actually doing what we say that we're going to do, and I'd like to see what the public has to say about the things that we are implementing and changing,
Yeah, the real practical thing here is whatever we come up with in the way of requiring some sort of odor mitigation efforts, we can't do that this growing season. It's not realistic and practical and not fair, really. We don't even have a leverage to force it. We could ask nicely and maybe get some of the facilities to pilot some things.
I was just going to ask.
And we'll do that. So I'm already having those conversations. But to really see large scale, everybody is doing this type of stuff and see the effects of it wouldn't go into effect until 2023 growing season. And of course, the biggest time is in the fall when you would have a better idea. So really, to do a survey now, you wouldn't even see the first shot at improvements until next fall.
2024 is when we look at it.
So, you may want 2 growing seasons.
Sure.
Might want to look at the fines too, if we want to raise those fines too,
Yeah, for
false alarms and all that stuff.
for false alarms, Yeah, so just ordinance enforcement, any ordinances. Writing tickets and charging fines has its place. The goal of ordinance enforcement is ordinance compliance. Tickets and fines don't necessarily give you compliance. In fact, I'd say most of the time that's not your best option. I wouldn't necessarily suggest that here. Now, false alarms all day long. I'm with you. That's ridiculous.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. And they ought to get those. But anytime somebody behaves badly, if you will, whether it's that or not paying a water bill or whatever the thing may be, we're keeping a record. And, what would be in there is when they come back around for renewal, see how many demerits are in the file. And maybe it gets to a point, whether it's odor complaints or whatever the thing may be, it gets to the point where they seriously consider the issue of reissuing all the licenses. Or specifically what I'm suggesting here is that generally, if they're doing what they're supposed to, making progress and improvements, we're gonna, do what we've been doing and just reissue. But if you do have a problem child, I'm suggesting that you put into the ordinance that I can make the call to say, you know what, you're going back in front of council. You've gotta convince them to renew that license. And another thing I referenced there is, I don't think anybody's goal is to not renew a license or to fine or ticket or any of those things. We want to see improvement. We want to have a balanced approach here that recognizes and appreciates the industry, but also sets the bar higher. So none of this is about we're going to try to find a way to not renew somebody's license. However, based on the number of licenses we have and types of things I'm imagining here, I think you may have a very real statistical probability that we may have to seriously consider not renewing somebody's license. And so, while that isn't the goal, just by the the number of them, there's a possibility that could be a risk. And for that matter, it's important that, you're sort of prepared for that possibility, and that the industry understands it. They need to know this is serious business. We support them, we want them to succeed, and we want them to be a successful corporate citizen too. So, it's good, it's okay that they have that, if you want to call it a threat of non-renewal, they are one that we want to avoid, but they have control over whether that's avoided.
I like all those ideas, because we've always said we can just not renew, but there was no, this is why we wouldn't renew, this is, nothing to follow up on really, so.
There's a few things to keep in mind that aren't here, and I talked with a number of the facilities last week in particular. It's an interesting place where we're at now. It's still all new. The market as a whole in Michigan is oversaturated. A whole bunch of people came to market with, we want to be get our foot in the door and have the best of the best and be the market leader. So statewide, you've got a number of facilities that aren't going to make it. They're not going to turn it out. And we have facilities that are not profitable yet and probably won't be profitable for a couple of years. So there's a very real possibility, if not likelihood, that the number of facilities today reduces over time. Now, it's possible that the ones that succeed just move in and take up the space of the facility that didn't succeed and because they're growing, yada yada. So you have that dynamic. But there's also a risk that if the market as a whole stabilizes, and that means we have less facilities overall, and less licenses, that sort of has a self-correcting effect too. That's all conjecture, but those are.
If they're not renewed, though, what's to prevent somebody from just them putting in for a new license? Because we don't have caps on anything.
Right, it depends on.
And it's this vicious circle of, you're advising that there's not room and that we're perhaps facing not renewing, but in the same breath, you could turn around and just apply for a new, okay, don't renew my license, but I can apply and stack how many more.
Yeah, so when we were going through that ordinance revision, those are the things you'll want to look at, is if you are looking to cap anything, or under what circumstances. I suppose.
Because if we don't cap it, then not renewing it doesn't have the effect that we need it to have.
I guess because if they were to reapply, you have the discretion to say no to anybody, new application.
Obviously, I think that you would look at the reasoning as to why it was denied in the first place. And if there was valid reasons as to why it was denied, I don't see how applying for a new one would be passed.
Yeah.
But, those are semantics that I guess we gotta figure out along the way.
And there's a risk there that they can form a new LLC with different partners, put different representation on the application, and it just turns out to be the same old people that you didn't know. And that's where you want to maybe look at ordinance and make sure you might be able to protect against that. That they have to affirm and attest that they are, no majority ownership or even minority ownership was ever rejected or not renewed for a license or something like that.
Right, probably some background checking.
Yeah, that is already happening for sure.
Right, but if in that instance where a license wasn't renewed, but the same corporation comes and asks for a new license, I think that would probably take some extensive background checking just to make sure that we are not relicensing people that we did not renew.
Your most likely protection there isn't, because they can shelf companies and LLCs, they can shuffle all sorts of things around. What you do is you make them affirm and attest and swear under oath that that isn't happening, and then if you find out later it is, you yank the license. You try to do your due diligence, but it's easy to hide that kind of stuff, unfortunately.
What do you think is the turnaround time from the time you contract to have this survey written? What do you think the turnaround time is from that to having it dispersed?
My goal would be to try to get it, in hands before the end of the school year, before summer hits. And there's one company in particular I have in mind, but, based on my doing surveys with them in the past, I think that's doable. The rest of the timeline is intentionally absent of timelines. I normally would, strategic plan or something, try to sort of set some target goals. I've been here long enough to figure out that, boy, that keeps giving me a bunch of stuff to do, and the state wants all these reports, and so, and by the way, we have 24 employees we gotta support day to day. So I just, some of the stuff is going to take time. The ordinance, but some of them are on, some of them are sequential, some of them are parallel paths. I think you want the public communication piece. And Tom and I are already starting to put something together there. The survey, I'll be on the phone tomorrow, as long as we're in agreement that that's a good path to go. And then the ordinance revisions we can get going on right now with some blanks to be filled in based on more discussion and survey. And then after we get the survey, then we can start to lean into the master plan with the planning commission. That'll take some time. And then once that's done, then the zoning ordinance can be updated.
What do you think percentage-wise is like a good amount of citizens to expect to turn the survey back in?
Yeah, this is this question I'll have for the survey company. I'm used to doing it in larger communities where they pick a smaller sample size and then hope to get a response rate of 50 to 25%. I've had good success getting 30 to 50%, but that's not again on sample size. For our size community, they may even suggest doing it to everybody, and then trying to do promotion and news releases and all that stuff to try to get people to return it. It comes from a third-party company that they know what they're doing. They kind of make sure people understand this is anonymous. This is legitimate. We really want your feedback. But generally speaking, a 20% give or take response rate is good in the survey.
Some sort of accessibility if somebody needed larger print, braille, vertical.
Yes, I'm quite certain they do that. All other languages as well, and they'll get it by mail, but they'll have the opportunity to do it online if they prefer, which I think offers some options. I'll confirm the accessibility piece.
Maybe we can do some partnering with the library in case someone needs internet access.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Or maybe even one of the computer labs at one of the high schools. Where it's a larger.
We're good?
I'll get to work.
No unfinished business. Good. Items for action. None. Committee reports. Infrastructure.
We had a meeting last Wednesday with the OHM about the Front Street grant, which goes from Pete Road to possible Liberty Street because of the infrastructure that's underneath there for the drains that's in the park. They extend it down to Liberty Access. We talked about the pedestrian right-of-way at the park, which would give the pedestrians right-of-way and possibly remove the stop sign.
We're bringing this option before anybody gets excited about the stop sign. We are looking into things like we said we would.
OHM sent us some options on that. We talked about keeping the road projects going, and we found out that Saginaw County's gonna put a road tax, millage on the 2 mills on the whole county. And what James told us is that underneath this, that we're supposed to get money back through them, through the county. But we're looking at maintaining the roads too that we gotta have a maintenance fund for that too. And if we don't do this millage for another 2 years, we need that maintenance fund to keep the other streets going and everything else. Anything else?
That was it. Have to talk about maintenance in Front Street.
So what he's saying is the millage that we're talking about asking
Is
for
there
would be
any more?
less than what we have previously.
Right. That's it.
Finance and administration, public safety, CDA,
Next meeting, March 9, that's next week.
Chamber of Commerce.
That's weird.
Oh, yes. He was there, I wasn't, but I'm here and he's not. That's my report.
You know what, that's fine. Planning Commission,
We had a meeting last Tuesday. On the agenda was the approval for special use permits for Big Rock Mill. He's looking to get some vans and convert them into a camper style van. We went ahead and approved a special use permit based on about 7 conditions that were recommended by the staff. He has a couple of timelines to clean up the property that he's going to follow. So yeah, another business coming into town. Hopefully everything will go good. Mr. Toma brought some ordinances and some discussion for possible requiring licensing of the caregivers in the area, and there was just some discussion about that. There was no decisions made. And that was it.
airport,
Next month, we start up again. Oh, this month,
this month.
2 weeks.
We're gonna be.
Weather's changing
No,
now.
I don't. I'll be there. Can't speak for Mr. Beakey. Fire board,
We had 12 runs, brings 32 to the date. I know some of you have read that we have assisted other fire departments in some major ones. And then we had our major one in Oakley the other day. Fire marshal's supposed to be in, according to the chief, Thursday. He was supposed to be coming tomorrow, but he's gonna be here Thursday to go through the family cabin, see if they can figure out what started it. This coming weekend is CPR training, which is mandated for everybody. It's Sunday morning and Monday night. And then the next fire board meeting is March 9th at 6 o'clock.
perfect, but unfortunate for both. Task force,
I wasn't able to attend. Did you guys transfer them? I don't think they have a speaker or anybody coming in, so it's probably very short.
public statement, limited to 3 minutes. This shall not be interpreted as a means to initiate dialogue or debate. Karen Fran Kuchel.
I just have one question about the survey that you plan to do. Are you gonna include township residents who, are affected by the properties, near our properties, businesses? And, in that survey process, are you able to distinguish if somebody has responded 14 times and if they were a resident of the town, or if it's just somebody? I mean, is there a way for that?
Yeah, council, I could answer those couple questions for council. To answer your last one first, so each survey is given a code number so that the company that collects the survey knows that you're not stuffing the box, so to speak. So there can only be one response.
Per household, correct?
Yeah, we have to talk to them. When I've done it in the past, it was based on the border database, which meant a household could get more than one. But I'll ask them about that. This plan is not to survey township residents, it's funded by village tax dollars, it's to survey, village residents. If the township would like to do their own survey in conjunction with it, or ask questions, that'd be up to the township, to decide. And I certainly talked to supervisor about that, kind of what that looks like, what kind of questions we're asking if they'd like to.
Rodney?
I'm good.
Any council member statements? Okay, I'll go. I want to say and extend the congratulations to Laura Greenfelder on opening her quilt shop today. There was a bunch of people in there, and that's 5 businesses now that she has in this village that also benefit a bunch of other businesses. Because those women that come are great. And they frequent every restaurant in and around, from back 40 to everything in the village. And now they have a quilt shop to choose from, and they use M57 for other supplies. So everything she's been doing has been amazing for the village. I also want to take time to give a huge shout out and thank you from the Cub Scouts, as well as myself, to Fran Kuklis. I saw your post about the Youth Fishing Academy. I got my son signed up to check it out. I contacted them. They came last Tuesday to the Cub Scout meeting and did a display or whatever the multiple things they do. Pretty much every Cub Scout was there. They learned to tie their own snell hooks. From there, they made their own crawler harnesses. And then Thursday, I took my son to the Field and Stream Club, did the same thing, but he got to tie his own fly. Through that, I now have a whole bunch of contacts at Michigan State University. I'm not going to brag about that. Saginaw County 4-H. We are going to work together moving forward to bring more of their activities and things they like to do for the Cub Scouts here in Chesapeake. So thank you, Fran, for posting that, and I'm very thankful I saw it. So, and just a reminder for those sitting here that get hungry on Sunday mornings, American Legion's breakfast is this Sunday, 7:30 to 11:30. And anyone that's still hungry, there's an awesome donut burger for breakfast. You want to see the picture of it? Because I've already eaten it.
Just today?
Yeah, it's Fat Tuesday Burger. I have a complete historical record of every one of these. I don't miss.
I think the book bus is still taking donations at services, right?
Yes, they are.
The
Through
16th,
the 16th, I think it is, so it's a good time to clean out your shelves and.
Clean out your
Stock
shelves.
I believe that the bus will actually be at Sovis's on the 16th, doing a little
Yeah.
drive.
But I know I cleaned out our shelves and carried them in, and they've got 2 whole back rooms in the back, and they had unloading the car.
I've seen those pillow pocket things they made
Yeah.
that are going to the kids.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah, 600 something, 632
Yep.
or something like that.
6
They
and
made
change. Is
for
what
all
they
the
want to
kids.
And they stock the bus for adults as well, so
They do,
don't forget that if you don't have kids, you can still clean out.
as well as her library on Sharon Road. Also has a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
books.
They have a ton of stuff out there.
There's also still time to get your Chamber Foundation raffle tickets for $20 a piece. The money will go towards beautification projects in Chesney. The winner will receive a 2-night stay at Thunder Bay Resorts with like the elk viewing and wine tastings and things like that.
Did you figure A, B, and C? minutes and payables.
We did that.
That's all on the
It's all
consent
in the
agenda.
consent.
That's in the consent agenda. Under 6, everything is covered. But thanks, man. I had a stroke, so. My wife, she's counting down the days, because I'm only allowed to go to May 27th. Because there's 1 year, after 1 year, you're supposed to be clean, safe, whatever. So she's counting it down on the calendar, because every time I do something wrong, I say it, I'm struggling.
How to stay away from those Fat Tuesday burgers if
Hey.
you're looking to not have it.
The heart surgery's in April, so I'm fine getting a burger now.
So now, until April.
It's not a bad surgery, it's just closing the hole now. Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
nah. Village administrator. Nice job.
Haven't I talked enough?
We got sidetracked.
No, I don't, I provided my operational reports, on Friday, happy to answer any questions, there's quite a few different things going on, but nothing too exciting, I don't think.
Yeah, I heard nothing on the lawsuit we filed.
No, it was served, I guess I reported that, got the media coverage out of it, but it's gonna be a long road, as we know.
Go ahead.
Can you share what you shared at the planning commission about the agenda? If you sign up for it, you can get the agenda and everything on.
Oh, good
sent to
idea.
you.
Great idea, Rod.
Yeah, sure. I think most people in here sign up for it. The Freedom of Information Act provides that if anybody wants to receive a subscription for agendas, they can do that. It's free. And so we got some requests to get those so that when agendas are put out for village council or the planning commission, folks get notice of it, that it's there, that it's on the website. And we're looking at, we did some updates to the website to make that a little bit easier to find on the website too.
Good.
You sure? Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion's been made to adjourn. Supported. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm done at 8:12.
James, what's your schedule like this? You